Brock. Melissa Jacobs from Good Game Youth Sports Newsletter. So I'm wondering how playing flag football until age 12 helped prepare you for tackle football, and if you think that your path is the way of the future.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I played up until I was about 12, and I think it just helped just with the speed of the game. It was a quick game. I think hand-eye coordination, all that kind of stuff, really did develop for me. Throughout my years of playing flag football, obviously being able to juke and cut and move in certain ways, just from the way the sport is, helped me for tackle football. I feel like when I started playing tackle football, I was a little slower actually because of just the pace of the game compared to flag. So anytime I'm talking to family and friends, I always encourage kids growing up to start off with flag football and play really as long as they can to help develop those kind of skills.
Brock, do you feel like this week has been, or these last 2 weeks have been normal weeks as far as your preparation heading into this game? And what's been the biggest challenge for you to try to make it as normal as possible?
Yeah, I feel like, last week, Kyle and obviously just the staff in general did a great job with, treating it like it was a normal game week in terms of, our installs and our routine and our schedules. So that all felt pretty normal. And the challenge is, you get through the week and then you don't play on Sunday. So for us, it was, you put in all this, work of studying and preparation and obviously practicing, and then you're not playing on Sunday. So that was a little odd. But obviously this week, same thing, knocked out some media stuff really in the week, and then today it felt good to get back out there and get back into our routine. Yes. Oh, over here.
Yeah. Brock, can you just describe what the practice field is like? We've heard a lot about it this week. Just what are your impressions of it, having been on it today?
Yeah, today we didn't have as an aggressive practice just in terms of the hard running, the cutting and stuff. That's tomorrow. So, but today I feel like it was pretty good just in terms of us getting out there and sort of, moving around, light running and whatnot. So that was that. So we'll see tomorrow, though, how it is.
Brock, your first passes were against the Chiefs in that blowout loss last season. Jed Yorks said you threw a ball in the stands. I don't recall that happening. You did throw a pick, but what are your memories of that game, and what were your emotions? Is like, here I am playing in the NFL. Yeah,
obviously the score in the game was sort of out of reach, and I went in at the end and was trying to get some reps, and I'm not gonna lie, it was going pretty fast. It was my first NFL action, and I'm dropping back, and for me, I was like, I don't know if Chris Jones was in, but I was like, man, Chris Jones is there, Frank Clark on the edge. So for me, my mind was racing pretty fast, and I was trying to get through reads pretty quickly, and definitely did feel rushed. I'm not gonna lie, I did. But there were some plays where I was able to make some throws and get into a rhythm, and then obviously at the end I sailed one over Juwan's head for an interception. But just where the game was at was a little weird. It was out of reach, and then I was just trying to go in and get my first action and get into a rhythm. So it is what it is. But obviously I learned from it, and feel like when Week 13 came around, that game and those reps actually did help me be prepared for my opportunity.
Brock, you're facing a defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo, who's renowned for throwing a lot at opposing quarterbacks, but your defense has had success in terms of disguising coverages, particularly on that fourth down against Detroit. I'm just wondering how facing them helps you prepare for the challenge you've got on Sunday.
Yeah, obviously I think they do a great job with, being sound in what they do, and then also bringing some pressure at times, sort of get the quarterback off schedule and just different looks they sprinkle in. So, but yeah, going back to like camp, we've seen a lot of different pressure looks and stuff from our defense, and we've had some good looks, obviously going against Fred and Dre and those guys. So that's sort of good for us to sink back and have that kind of experience. But at the same time, Spags does a good job, I think, with, calling plays and pressures when you least expect it, and try to get the offense caught off guard. So that's the challenge, honestly. So it's going to come down to the heat of the battle, being able to be ready for it and make the right decisions when they come.
Brock, you've been very vocal about your faith and identity in Christ. What is a verse or a passage in the Bible that you hold on to when facing adversity in the NFL?
I've said it a lot, in the press conferences, but Psalm 23, even when I go through the darkest valley, I fear no danger, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. And then it also talks about how God prepares a table before me, even in the presence of my enemies. So, even though all the craziness is going on for me, I'm like, all right, God's with me. He's right here in this moment. And it gives me peace. It gives me, just the calmness, the steadfastness. And in those moments, that's what I can think back to.
Hey, Brock. Here in the
Middle.
Omar here.
Yes.
Hey, from the very beginning, the locker room, your teammates have been very supportive of you, their confidence, their belief in you, based on what they had seen from you in practice. At what point in your starting career did you feel like you had earned all that trust and faith based on what you did in the games?
Last year, when I stepped in, we were on a roll as a team. Just obviously, we had the Super Bowl on our minds and in our sights. So, for me, really, it was like, all right, we're rolling. I'm just continuing to do what Jimmy had done before, and didn't want to, lose a step or take a step back as an offense. So, for me, I didn't really know or understand until probably this year. We went on a roll. We're 5-0, and then honestly, when we went on a streak of losing some games, that's, I feel like, when you start questioning and seeing how guys respond to you. And my team had my back. Even through those 3 games that we lost in a row, you had guys on defense, Dre Greenlaw, Fred, Eric Armstead, like all those guys continue to come up to me and say, dude, we got your back. This is the NFL. It's not easy. And so it was in those moments that I knew I was, all right, these guys got my back and we can go.
Hey, Brock, after your injury in the NFC Championship last year and looking at the improvements that you made coming into this season, where in your game do you think that you made the biggest strides?
Yeah, I think, last year when I first got in, there was times where I feel like I really wasn't, playing the position of quarterback like I needed to and wanted to. I feel like I was, sort of quick to get out of the pocket at some points and rush out and not trust progressions and trust the boys up front. So I feel like this year I've done a little bit better of a job of staying within the pocket, going through some reads, taking some checkdowns, throwing the ball away when I need to. Obviously there's been some times and moments where, I've been too aggressive and have had interceptions and stuff. But, that happens. And so, but I think a big jump for me this year is just playing the position and not trying to be Superman every play when something's not there. So.
Brock, you mentioned you had a lot of meaningful conversations with the veterans of this team about navigating this Super Bowl experience. What's been the most helpful piece of advice you've gotten?
Yeah, not making it, what it's not. And I've heard a lot of guys say, it's a big moment, it's a big game, it could be the biggest game of your life kind of thing. But what it comes down to is it's 11 on 11. It's football at the end of the day. You can't get wrapped up in all the stuff outside, what's going on throughout the week. And we're here for a reason. What we've done all year has gotten us here, and so we can obviously have confidence in that. What we've done all year has been good enough, and we just got to continue to do that. I've heard that from multiple of the vets. So.
Brock, your teammates say that impersonations are among your many talents. I believe sirens, we had SpongeBob the other night, maybe some teammates, coaches. When did you first realize you can do that, and how do you use that in the building?
Yeah, growing up, my dad was pretty good with impersonations, and so I think I picked up from him. Just whether it was family, friends, teammates growing up, I feel like I've always done some impersonations, and they've been pretty well. But I don't know, I'll do it sometimes when we're in the huddle or something to sort of just, show them that, all right, Brock's, he's calm, he's cool and collected here, he's joking around, so it's all good. So I feel like there's times and moments where I do it, but I don't go around trying to impersonate everybody all the time. So.
Hi, Brock, it's Contessa Brewer from CNBC. When you started, I guess in gambling terms, you would have been considered a long shot. Give me a sense of whether being underestimated is actually an advantage.
Yeah, I feel like it can be. I think, earlier this year, there's not a lot of talk or buzz really about, I guess, myself, and not that I listen to it and buy into all of it, but it's almost like, all right, I still have to go and play with that chip on my shoulder and prove to my teammates that, I can be the guy for this team. I feel like I had some stuff to prove still. Obviously, last year I played 7, 8 games or whatever that was, and it was all good, but it wasn't a whole season, so there was a lot of questions. And so for me, it was, all right, I still got to go out there and prove to myself, I can do this, and to my team that I can be the guy. So, yeah, there wasn't a big, spotlight on me or anything like that. So, like, you sort of want to make a name for yourself kind of thing, throughout the year and early on. So, I feel like it has been sort of an advantage for sure. Yep.
Now that you have a year under your belt, what was the biggest difference between learning Iowa State's playbook and the 49ers playbook? Was there any similarities in verbiage, and was there any, crossover in the playbook as far as schematics go?
Yeah, I feel like, concepts and stuff are pretty similar. I'm not going to lie, from what we ran at Iowa State to what we do now. Just the differences, like just the way of college football compared to the NFL, being in a huddle, reciting plays, long plays, multiple plays, all in one, standing, telling, my O-line, receivers, everybody what we're doing. There's just a lot more communication, like just that aspect is more of it. In college, you're getting the signal from the sideline, and then everyone's looking, and then you line up real quick and try to run the play. In the NFL, like, you're looking guys in the eyes and telling them, hey, this is the play, and this is what we have to do. But as a quarterback, I like that just because you can see the play in your head better, and you got to say it multiple times, and I feel like it's just a little bit more clear to me in my mind. So those are the differences, and it's not knocking college football or anything. It's just the differences and the way it is. So.
Brock, Jose Villalba from Multimedios in Mexico. 2 questions. First, when you entered as a starting quarterback with the 49ers, there were so many offensive players, established players like Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Kittle. How are you able to connect with them? And second, many people probably forgot the rehab that you had to go through during the off season. How hard was it to regain the form that you had last year?
Yeah, so to answer the first part, I've been myself since I got here day one. Obviously I've come in and I didn't really say much. I just try to learn the playbook and do my job and show, the guys at practice that, hey, I can be a trustworthy guy if my number's called upon. Go in, make reads, and make plays. And I feel like over time, Trent, Deebo, Christian, George, like they sensed that. They could feel it. It wasn't just all talk. And obviously when I got thrown in week 13, it was like, all right, let's see what you got kind of thing. And I never really did look back from there. So that's sort of just how that came to be. In terms of the rehab and stuff, I feel like it was a long process. You get cleared. I got cleared around, I think, like 5.5, 6 months. And I'm not going to lie, I was still continuing to strengthen my arm as the season started. And that was the whole thing that I was dealing with. But I was good enough to play, and I felt good enough for game one, and the rest has sort of been history. But I think my arm had, like, you just do different mobilities and exercises and stuff because of your arm and the rehab, and so your arm by nature I think does get a little stronger. So those are things that I've learned and will continue to do, moving forward. So. Yep.
Hello, Brock. Victor Roulier from Touchdown Mac 2. Quick question. In a almost perfect season, you had one difficult game versus Baltimore, versus a very aggressive defense. And now in the Super Bowl, you will face again a very aggressive defense with the Chiefs. What lesson did you learn from the matchup from Baltimore, and do you think you can apply what you learned during the Super Bowl versus the Chiefs?
Yeah, in that Baltimore game, we had a couple explosive plays early on, and for myself, I started, just feeling good about what we were doing, and I sort of bought into the emotion of, all right, we had some big plays here, and I can fit this throw in now, even though it wasn't even the right coverage for me to do that. And I learned the hard way through some interceptions, and I feel like I wasn't playing with a clear mind at that point. So that's something that I definitely learned, and obviously we're playing in the Super Bowl, another big game, and how can I understand that every play has a life of its own? You can't, just because you had a big play in the last play, it doesn't mean this next play is going to be another big play. Like the right play might be checking it down or throwing it away. So those are things I had to learn and definitely taking into account with how aggressive and how good the Chiefs defense is.
Last 1 minute left.
Brock, you talked earlier about sometimes doing impressions in the huddle. George is always finding the camera, especially on a week like this. How important is it to remember that, yes, it's the seriousness of the business of football, but also you're playing a game and you want to have fun doing it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a fine line of it for sure. Obviously, studying and being prepared for every little situation and circumstance, and being ready to answer those questions right. But also, being able to enjoy the game. We're in the Super Bowl. You dreamed of this as a kid growing up. You wanted to play. Every kid dreamed playing in this game. And so, I mean, like George obviously gives us a great perspective every game. He's always having fun, joking around. But when the ball's snapped, he's doing his job and he's doing it well. So there's the fine line of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, like this is something that we've all dreamed of growing up, and got to be grateful for it and have fun with it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.